great way to get you in front of other people's audiences and to make you more visible and actually to help you close more business. But it's not always easy to know how to go about it. So knowing where to start can be a little bit confusing, but once you have this information, it can truly help you with having an army. I say that in quotes, of individuals that are out promoting your products and services and vice versa. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips to help you create powerful partnerships and tips that you might not even have thought of before. Hey, I'm Joyce Lehman, and I work with coaches, consultants, and course creators to help them leverage their unique brand and message so they can stand out online, sell more services, and make a bigger impact without the overwhelm. So if you're looking for ways to boost your business and you haven't considered powerful partnerships, then I would highly recommend that you do that. This is something that before the pandemic hit, I was focusing on doing this with folks in business development as far as business owners, and built some very powerful tribes, not only for my own business, but helped clients develop their own tribe. In my book, I actually call it island alliances. So depending on the terminology you want to use, hey, I'm good with either one. But it's about developing these win-win relationships. So you really have other people, depending on the type of service that you have, that they are literally out talking to your potential clients on a daily basis, or their target market is also your target market. Now, as always the case, I am going to be moving pretty quickly through here. So if you want the show notes, then drop the word partnership in the chat and I will make sure and get you the show notes. As is always the case, I have folks, they can't show up live. They do come in after the replay, but they don't always feel comfortable commenting. Totally understand. So for those of you who have sent me DMs in the past, feel free to do that on the platform that you are watching this. So with that, so first tip is determine if this is going to be a win-win. So this means you've got to do some pre-work in advance. So one of the questions that you need to ask yourself is, why are you wanting to create a partnership? Is this something that you've got an offer that you're wanting to promote and you know that partnerships can help you do just that? Or is this by chance some sort of workshop or summit? I've had clients in the past, as an example, one was a health coach. She partnered with 2 other coaches. So it was more of a body, mind, spirit type workshop that they did. So one did organizing because it was all about, how do you get calm in your body? And so they focused on organizing. And then the other one was a life coach. So you had a nutrition coach, a life coach, and then you had an actual organizer, and they worked together to promote a workshop they were doing. If by chance you have a podcast, maybe you're wanting to bring on guests, and those guests can also promote you to their audience if you do an exchange like that. Or if you're a local service-based business, which the tribe that I used to be a part of, in fact, I was a part of that for 7 years, we were all calling on small to mid-sized companies because I was more over in the corporate space. And we filled very specific roles within that space where we could help them with, we could help companies in a variety of different ways by bringing our tribe in together. So as I said, first off, figure out what is it that you're wanting to promote? Is this a one-off thing, like a special offer promotion, or you're going in for a workshop? So get that down. Then you need to ask who is your community? So how many is on your list? Now, this doesn't necessarily mean how many followers do you have on social media, but when you're going out to talk to somebody and you're wanting to do an online promotion, then somebody's going to be looking at you and saying, how many people are on your list, or how many social media followers do you have? If you don't really have an email list and you don't have a way to market there, then you're hoping that you can market this via social media. And if you consider the stats, if you do, or if you create a social media post, 2% of people are even going to see this. Now, if you have a private Facebook group, the odds that you're going to, talk to more people are going to increase in a Facebook group or even on your personal page. But say, for example, Instagram, it could be LinkedIn, even just Facebook business, 1% to 2% of individuals are even going to see it. So it doesn't go back to you're like, oh, well, I've got 3,000 followers. 1% is not a lot, especially when you see the number of people who actually see the promotion and then the number of people who say yes that you want to join. So say, for example, you've got an email list. An average email open rate is about 20 to 25%. If you've been nurturing your list, you can have higher open rates. So make sure that you come to the table and you're able to let potential partners know what you bring as far as how you can market them. Going back to when it was boots on the ground and I was predominantly working with folks in the Kansas City area, it was us getting together locally. It was us word of mouth. Like we'd pick up the phone and have a client that we were working with and say, I want to introduce you, to Bob, and Bob can help your company with this very specific service. So as I said, depending on what you're wanting to partner about, then people are going to look at, what's your network and how do you go about doing that? So those are the questions you need to know of yourself in advance before you start looking for potential partners. Now, a great thing to consider is if you want to go out online, there might be somebody out there that you don't know personally. And so start looking at how they're promoting and consider reaching out and saying, hey, I have a question. Have you done this before? And just have it a get to know you conversation. One of the things I saw, and this has been years ago, although I have seen this happen again, is people do summits. And so they reach out. And I've gotten direct messages out of the blue and they're like, hey, I'm hosting the summit. And what happens is we get to put you out, in front of how many thousands of people. But to do this, you have to do a freebie, something you're going to give away. And then you have to promote it to your list. And I know nothing about them. So make sure that when you're reaching out to somebody, you've done your homework and you don't immediately pitch. You want to see what they're posting online. Do they have an email list? What's on their website? Are you calling on the same type of clients? Are they even open to having a conversation? So that's one of the first places to start. So then, as I said, you've got to figure out businesses that call on the same target market. So if by chance, and this is really easy. So if you're a service-based business and you're a copywriter, for example, then you could very easily partner with somebody that does branding, web design, all those people that are in that space when it comes to branding and marketing. In fact, that's something that I started doing when I was working with a lot of one-on-one clients. Is they had a bad website. They didn't know where to go to for copy. So they ended up coming to me, and I had my key folks that I would refer them to because I'd worked with them on multiple projects. They were very good at what they did. So I could very easily feed them business, and it was an easy referral to make because I knew they would make me look great. So that's what I said is consider, what your service is or what your offer is, and then who else is calling on the same type of client that could provide a product or service that could potentially help them. And in that win-win relationships, as I said, I have individuals that I fed a ton of business over the years. They've never referred me anything back. They do work with a variety of people, so I don't expect anything from them. But that gets into part of this is when you're vetting partnerships is you want to see when you're reaching out to somebody that if they say they're going to promote it, they're actually going to promote, you're going to cross promote services and you're going to be, each other's sales team, so to speak. So with that, like I said, the big thing is go back and consider, is this a special promotion? Maybe you've got some sort of summit. Is it a new offer that you have? Maybe you've got a podcast that you're wanting to do that you can cross promote with local service providers. If you're focusing within your local area, who's your market? So as an example, one of my clients happens to be a very specialized yoga instructor. So if she thought about creating a partnership, it would be who else is working with individuals that she does. So that's where a health coach would be great, maybe a personal trainer, a physical therapist. So hopefully this is sparking some ideas for you as to who your partnerships might be. To give you another example of win-win, as I said, when I was more over in the corporate side of things, calling on small to mid-sized companies, we had a wealth advisor, we had a senior VP of a bank, we had a CFO, somebody that did CFO services, we had a commercial insurance person. I was in there for the marketing and sales aspect of things. And so these individuals, and two different types of attorneys. So we had a bankruptcy receivership attorney, but we also had a general attorney, somebody who is a general counsel. So when you think about everybody that could support that small to mid-sized company, we also had a CPA who was very specific to working with those clients. And we made sure when everybody came in that that was the type of client they were calling on. So here are your 9 must-ask questions to help you vet to see if somebody might be a potential partner. So the first thing that you have already done is you've gone out to do research to see what kind of content are they posting? Are they potentially calling on the same market that you are? Because you want to go in and have some questions to ask, but you want to make sure that you're looking to see like who's following them, the type of message that they're putting out. Is that brand, are their values, their business values consistent with what you have? So here's your first question. As I said, I'm going to be moving through this quickly. So if you want the show notes, then post show notes and I will send those to you because in the show notes, I'm going to have these 9 questions. Okay. So question number 1, how interested are you in growing your business? You would be surprised. I have asked this with some individuals that I thought might be potential partners, and they said, I'm full on clients. I don't need anybody right now. So as I said, depending on who you're looking to partner with, they might already be at capacity. They might not want to take somebody on, or their type of offer, maybe they only launch it every 6 months because it's set up a certain way. And so they can't bring anybody in right now. So that's a great question. Are you looking at growing your business? And then question number 2, are you looking at taking on new clients or getting more business from existing clients, or both? It's a slightly different way to ask, are you looking to grow your business? Because you want to find out how many individuals, do they have a group program, or is this something they do only one-on-one that would be a great fit for? And I will tell you, I ended up, as an example with service providers, I ended up with 2 different copywriters because I was sending business to keep one between what I was sending her and her own work that she was too busy. So I had to have 2 different copywriters to refer. So it's a great thing to say, or ask, are you looking to take on clients, but really find out how many. And then number 3, what do you do to get new business? So depending on if somebody's in a local market, maybe the only way they get new business is they go to networking events. Other individuals, they may say, hey, I've got a really active social media platform. I've got a big email list. I do free workshops. So they're out getting business in another way. You want to find out how they go about getting new business. Some people, they work on referral only. It depends on who their client base is. So this is how you want to know how, basically it's how are they marketing their business? Because this is going to help you to find out if you're a good fit. And then here's a biggie, number 4. Do you make referrals to other business professionals? Some people will tell you all day long that they do it, and they really don't. So the follow-up question is, do you make referrals, and how often does that happen? Now, here's the only caveat. When we had our tribe, and it was more in the corporate space, then it was together for 7 years. In fact, the guys are still doing that because my business at the start of the pandemic shifted to more of a national, working with individuals all over the country versus just local. They're still going. But one of the things in that process is we had a commercial insurance guy in the group. In 7 years, I referred 2 pieces of business to him. I only referred 2 pieces. One was the second largest piece of business the entire company had in that year. So this is where there are some organizations, I've written about them in my second book, Your Connecting Advantage, and some people, these local events, and yes, they're great. Everybody, everybody's got organizations, networking organizations that they like. But their requirement is every week when you show up that you have a new referral or you have a certain number of new referrals for somebody. What I have found in the past is those aren't necessarily referrals. Those might be leads, but those aren't individuals who are ready, willing, and able to make a decision at that time. So this is why finding out, do you make referrals to somebody? How many introductions have you made? And then do a little bit more exploring in that regard to find out, well, was it, if we're looking at A, B, C, and F clients, was this a big client? Was it an average size client? In my case, like I said, for Scott, only 2 pieces of business in 7 years, but they were significant. All right. What type of professional service do you refer most often? So this is where you want them to give you an example. So easy, simple to do. If somebody is a massage therapist, they could very easily refer personal trainers, PTs. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. If you're a banker, it could very easily be a CPA. It could be a wealth advisor if they don't have that person within their banking environment. So this is where you want to say who's referring to who, right? Who does this really fit the most? And sometimes these individuals haven't even thought about referring somebody. So that's why they may have this great network, but they need somebody to help guide them through this process. And then there are going to be people that say, I will never, ever, ever refer business. Those are not people you want as potential partners. All right. Another big question. How do you go about making introductions? This is big. So I said, if you're going to a networking event and all you're doing is handing off a card saying, hey, call this person, they're not ready for your phone call. They don't know if you're a potential client. I would always instruct people that if you're going to have an introduction to make, then make it properly where you've actually had a conversation with both people. Then you send an email to both individuals, because when you make an introduction for somebody, that is your reputation on the line. That's why going back to that question number 1 is, what do you bring to the table and what are you willing to offer in a partnership is super, super, super important. And as you're going through this, listening to this video, you might be saying, I haven't made any referrals in a while. If you want referrals, that means you're going to have to give referrals. You can't expect this to be, just to get. My friend Bob Berg, who wrote The Go-Giver, it's like, you can't just take and not give it all. All right. Do you want to ask how many people are on your list? And then how many individuals, like what is their social media presence? Kind of cover that number 1, but those are 2 very specific questions depending on how you're marketing this, that you want to go through and make sure you are very, very clear on that. All right. So what you have to consider is there are, as I said, there's going to be 2 different types. So there are going to be people that you may talk to about partnerships. They're not doing reciprocal introductions, but they might be great resource partners for you to have. You still want to have a conversation and you still want to establish a relationship as far as how introductions going to be made, how this is going to be handled. If it's something where you are fishing in the same pond or hunting in the same forest and you're a local business and you're meeting with other business providers, then these individuals have the potential of becoming your alliances, your tribe, whatever you would like to call that. If you're doing this online, I said it's going to go back to, is it a one-time promotion? You're just sending it out to each other's email list. Maybe you're going to have somebody on your workshop and you're going to be live either in person or online. So that's where you've got to figure out the parameters. And is it a one-time deal or is it an ongoing thing that you're constantly hunting or fishing for business for each other? So part of this is, a lot of people, they underestimate the power of a partnership, but when businesses come together and it is truly a win-win, you have very similar markets and you're open to making introductions, then you would be amazed at what can happen. In fact, within our tribe, we referred millions of dollars in business to each other over time. So all right. So that way you want to make sure that you're choosing your potential partners wisely. So here is tip number 3 is create very clear communication. So now that you've done the vetting, you've asked the questions, and you know who a potential partner is, then that's when you're going to figure out, so is it something like our group did, our tribe did, where we were meeting once a month in person? We had a set time that we met. We would trade different offices where we were going to meet, but we always had clear communication on this is when we all get together. But then individuals would be having meetings outside of that, or we would get on the phone. So part of it, if the individual is not in your city, are you going to email, going to jump on calls? If you're promoting a launch, you have a very specific workshop, then what is your list? Who's following it? Who's executing different pieces of it? If you're sending emails out to each other's list, who's going to write the emails? What date do those go on? How are you handle landing pages? All of these things that if you're working with one other person, it's easier than working with a group, but you've got to have very clear communication in the process. So another thing to consider too is if you're not meeting in person, Slack is another great way that you can communicate. So setting up a Slack channel that has individuals like that versus sending things back and forth via email. Also having like a shared Google Drive folder, it goes back to what are you promoting? Is it a one-time? Is it an ongoing? But being very clear how you're going to communicate each other with updates, and specifically, how are you going to promote each other? It's not this, you're going to hope that somebody writes a great bio. You're going to hope that somebody writes a great email. These are the things that you need to get very clear on when you communicate through the process. So there are no surprises and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they just sent out that social media post, or I can't believe they just sent out that email. Having very clear communication in the process of this. Okay. So in today's video, I want to do a recap. All right. So number one, we first talked about how to determine if this is a win-win relationship for both of you. Start with doing your research on your business to make sure before you reach out to somebody with the potential of a collaboration, that if they look at your social platform, your website, you look like somebody that would be a great potential referral partner or collaboration partner, whatever you want to call that, but you've got to do your research on your side. Secondly, get very clear within that, if it's a win-win, what are you actually promoting or cross-promoting? And then do your research on the person that you're going to be reaching out to. Now, these may be people already in your network. These might be new individuals that you haven't talked to before. So get those things into place to determine if this is going to be a win-win. All right, number two is asking those 9 questions that I gave you to make sure that this is going to be a very good win-win with that. And I want to make sure, instead of winging this, I'm going to go through these quickly. So how interested are you in growing your business? Are you taking on new clients, getting clients from existing, or both? What do you do to get new business? Have them give you examples. Do you make referrals to other business professionals? If that answer is yes, then number 5 is how many in a month? Number 6, what type of services do you refer most often, or what other offers have you promoted the most? 7, how do you go about making introductions, or how do you go about promotion to your audience? Number 8, how many people are on your list? And then number 9, how many followers do you have on social media? This is so important in the process. All right. And number 3 is create clear communication once you've determined that this person is a good referral partner. If it's local, how often are you going to meet? How are you going to communicate between meetings? How are you going to make any introductions on each other's behalf? And do they have a great way to refer you? Do they know how to refer you? If you're doing this online, then is there a specific event or promotion with a very specific date that you are marketing? And then who's creating the emails? Who's creating the social posts? How are you communicating? Is it via email, via Slack? But you want to have that very clear communication in the process so everything goes as smoothly as possible. Because by following these tips, you can develop some powerful partnerships that will result in new business. And that's the whole point of going through this process and doing the work. Now, as I said, I have given you a lot. If you want the show notes for today's episode, then drop partnerships in the chat or send me a DM and I will be happy to get those to you. And depending on your market, I have talked to several individuals that they're like so excited that local networking is coming back. So guess what? If local business is your thing, I have my complete guide to hosting collision events. This is something that my tribe, we hosted collision events once a quarter. It was the must attend event. Everybody that came wanted to know how quickly they could get invited back. We were very specific on how we picked people who were going to be in the room, how we ran the event, how we followed up after. And one of our executive happy hours resulted in the sale of a $4 million company. And that was two individuals who came into a room that we made the introduction. Talk about a win-win, the sale of a company. So with that, I have my collision guide. This literally gives you step by step by step. These are not an easy thing to do. They typically take 2 to 3 months to plan to make sure that they are executed flawlessly, but you would be amazed at the business and the relationships that come out of that. So with that, I'm excited for those of you who are able to join me. If you're catching this as a replay, absolutely glad to have you there as well. I know the timing doesn't always work for everybody, but I appreciate those who show up and also those who send me DMs and emails afterwards and say, great information. This made such a difference in my business. So with that, I will catch you next time.